Hi, this is Purnima, and you're watching video lecture series on protection switchgears. In last class, we are discussed the basics of circuit breakers, etc., and the working principle of circuit breakers. And we have the basic structures, what is arc, how the arc is forming, and basics of parts of what are the parts we have, and what are the content we are going to discuss, and a circuit, what is circuit breaker, and operating principle of circuit breakers, etc. Today, in this video, we are going to discuss about arc phenomena. This is the main thing, how we are going to reduce the arc phenomena. When a short here comes here, when a short circuit occurs, when whatever the any fault occurs, example, the short circuit occurs, a heavy current flows through him, and a heavy current flows through which the uh, contacts of the circuit breakers break before they are opened by the protective relay. When the contact is being separated, we know that when the contact is being separated, the contact area decreases rapidly, and the large fault current causes increased current density and hence rise in temperature. We know that already we have discussed when the contactors get what happens, the large fault current increases the current density. Large fault current, what happens, increases the current density and hence the rise in the temperature. Automatically the temperature gets rises. The heat produced in the medium between the contactor is sufficient to ionize the air or vapors or ion. So the heat produced in this area, it is sufficient to ionize the air. It is that the heat is produced, but it is sufficient to ionize the air. That means it can conduct the flow of electrons can flow through the air. Examples. So vaporize and ionization the oil. The ionized air or vapor act as a conductor. The conductor means which allows the flow of current. And the arc is stuck between the contactors. The arc produced at a low resistance path. We have know that what is when the resistance is low, what happens automatically? When resistance is decreases, what happens? Automatically the current is increases. We know that based on the Ohm's law. When the low resistance path, consequently the current in the circuit remains uninterrupted so as long as arc is preside. This is what an arc phenomenon. Here coming to next, continue with last slide. During the arcing period, the current flows between the contactors depends upon the arc resistance. Yes, absolutely. It depends upon the arc resistance. If the resistive path is low, what happens? The current will be high. The resistive path is high. The current will be low. So here the arc resistance depends upon the following factors. We have some factors. Based on the factors, it is depends on it. First one is degree of ionization. First one is degree of ionization. The arc resistance increases with the decrease in the number of ionized particle between the contactors. The arc resistance will increase means what happen? Ionized particle between the contactor is decreases. And the length of the arc. Next one is length of the arc. So arc resistance increase with the length of the arc and separation of the contactor. The arc resistance will increase with the length of the arc. So the separation of the contact, that is with the separation of the contactor. The contactor separation. So the length depends upon the contact separations and cross section of the arc. The arc resistance increases with the decreases in the area of cross section of the arc. The arc resistance which increases with the decrease in the area of cross sections of the arc. This is what the main factors depends upon the arc resistance. Here comes the methods of arc extensions. We have main two methods. One is extinguish the arc in the circuit breaker. One is high resistance method. Next one is low or current zero method. So one is high resistance method. Next one is low or current zero method. Here we can discuss in this high resistance method. What is high resistance method is from the phenomena of arc, it is clear that the current flowing in the circuit entirely depends upon the arc resistance. We know that it is current flow is entirely depends upon the arc resistance. Okay, in this method, the resistance is increases such the value of the current is decreases to very low. So we already know that if the resistance is, if the resistance is if the resistance increases, what happen? If the resistance increases, what happen automatically? Current get decreases. This we have known the decreases and the arc extinction. Once the current is decreases, the arc is extinguishing. Once the current is automatically decreases, what happen? The arc is extinguished. low. The resistance of the arc can be increased by the following way. We have to increase the resistance. Then only we can decrease the current, and it can be easily we can decrease the arc extension. Extension. Here the first method is by increasing the length of the arc. If we increase the length of the arc, what happens? If we increase the length of the arc, the resistivity get, what happens? The resistivity get increases. Automatically, the resistivity get increases. What happens? Current get decreases. This is one of the method. So R is directly proportional to rho L by a length of the area. If the length of the area is increased, then the resistance is increases by reducing the area of the cross section. So if the area of the cross section is reduced, the resistance is increases. The R is directly proportional rho L by A. When the resistance is increases, the current is automatically interrupt. Thereby, the arc is extinguished. The main thing is we have to extinguish the arc. Okay. So these are the method. Next method is cooling the arc. The next method is cooling the arc. The next one is splitting the arc. By cooling the arc, by any cooling agents, we can cooling the arc by reducing and splitting the arc. The arc is made to split into number of session. Then each session, the resistance is increases due to the effect of cooling and the length of lengthening the arc. So these four methods are used to increase the resistance. If we increase the resistance, automatically the current gets decreases. This is the main thing. This is the main method of extinguish the arc. So what are the main method is we have know that the high resistance method, low method. In high resistance method, we have four way of method is increasing the length of the arc and by reducing the cross section of the arc, by cooling the arc, and third one is splitting the arc. So in next class, we can discuss about low resistance at zero current method. Thank you so much for watching this video. Have a nice day. Bye bye.